Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is Chapter 5 of Blood Rampage. Enjoy. He kept running, using all of the back alleyways and smashing his way through things with his quirk when they blocked his way. As he tore down one quiet back street, he almost ran into an elderly lady who screamed to high heavens when she saw him. This relieved him a little bit. At least someone was still scared of him. Finally, he was in the back parts of town, away from you and away from everyone else so that he could take a moment to think. Crawling into the back part of the shed that he had been using as a hideout, he sat down in the dirt and let his guard down, panting as he stared down at the ground. Memories from his childhood and adolescence came back to him, from all the bullying he sustained at school for being weak, to the abusive household he had grown up in, to his demise at the UA entrance exam. I actually thought that I could make it as a hero, he thought with a self-hating scoff. I've been destined to be a failure. Being a villain's been the only option for me. I can't believe I actually thought I could get somewhere in life. His mind cast back to that day at the entrance exam, when one of the robots had had its leg shot off by another participant. Because of his position under it, he had frozen with fear as the robot had wobbled with the shock of the attack, towering high above him. He was worried he was going to be killed, and immediately regretted every decision that he had ever made up until that point. I'm not a hero. Who am I kidding? I can never be a hero. I'm too weak, he had thought. At that point, another entry member had thrown herself between the falling robot and him, aiming to protect him as her quirk was to be able to produce force fields, and she figured that she could encase him with her and protect them both from the collapsing machine. Unfortunately, though, he had used his quirk as a last-ditch effort to protect himself from the falling robot, and as she landed onto him with her force field, it collapsed, and she fell onto his hardened form, leaving her scratched and injured. Then the robot landed on them. Blood Rampage had woken a while later in the back of the ambulance, with people attending to his wounds, but his mind was in turmoil over what had happened. Eyewitnesses had said that he had killed the force field quirk wielder and used the collapsing robot as cover for his crimes, and their stories were believed. He had escaped from the hospital that night, since he had been told that his name was now on the criminal records, and he would be charged for her death, with his transfer to jail being set for that next morning. And that's how his life of being a misunderstood villain began. Shakily he raised his arm and looked at it. I know I cut her. All I know is how to hurt people, even if I don't mean to. It still happens. Amazingly, your friend didn't see any of the wounds on your arm, and you did your best to act like a villain hadn't broken into the apartment while she was out. Then, feigning a miraculous recovery from your hangover, you dismissed her so that you could go and search for Blood Rampage again, as well as start delving into who he was as a supposed villain. You had questions that you needed answers to. The first one being, what is your real name? And so after you were assured that your friend had left, you left as well, aimlessly heading back to the area that you knew he frequented. It was a short bus ride to the other end of town, and you got off and headed to one of the stores where an incident had happened with Blood Rampage, hoping you could glean a little more from the store owners to find out if the stories in the papers about Blood Rampage were true. Hi, you greeted the girl on the checkout line as you walked into the small grocery store. I'm here to ask some questions about an incident involving the villain Blood Rampage that happened about last month. Oh, I wasn't on that night, but my boss is in today if you want to talk to him, she said. He's in the back office. Are you a reporter? Yes, you lied. But I forgot all of my reporting stuff, but I have a great memory for anything related to Blood Rampage, not so much for anything else, you thought internally. Right, she replied, eyeing you suspiciously. Come with me, I'll take you to him. You followed her eagerly down to the back of the store and then waited as she called for the boss to let him know that you were there, and then he called you in and she went back to the front of the store to continue her work. You're following up on the Rampage story, he asked gruffly. What do you want to know? Oh, I wanted to confirm some details with you, you said, taking a seat when he gestured to the chair that was beside you. Yeah? He asked. Can you please tell me your version of what happened that night? You asked. Sure. So it was a quiet night, thankfully. We were about to close up shop when he came in. When I checked back on the TV footage, it looked like he was trying to shoplift. He was looking around suspiciously while standing idly at the shelves. Yeah, go on, you prompted, So far the story was already different from the one that you had read in the papers. It had said that he had run in and attacked a young family for no reason. Yes, then on the footage the family who were attacked came around the corner and the father must have recognised Rampage and stopped dead in his tracks. And then what happened? You asked eagerly. Then it looked like the father was turning his family around to head them back the other way, but in the process he also grabbed for a broom from nearby and held it up threateningly. You hummed. Was there any sound to the footage? Was anything being said between Blood Rampage and the father? Fortunately, our camera system doesn't allow sound, but you can see there are words being exchanged between the two. I also heard yelling. That's when I came out. There was blood everywhere, on the mother and the young child too. You hummed. You knew the rest of the story. That mother, father and child were all taken to the hospital in what they say were dire conditions. I did hear that all of them made a full recovery, the boss added, seeing that you had a worried look on your face. What did you see on the camera when you went back to check? Did Blood Rampage attack the guy? It certainly seemed that way. He attacked all of them and then ran, he said. Thanks. Okay, well your version's already different from what they said on the main news, and I'm reporting for a smaller company that tries to get the truth from locals, so you've done a great job. I see, the boss replied. Is there anything else I can help with? You wouldn't happen to have the tape of the incident still, would you? You asked hopefully. Unfortunately, no. It was taken by the news reporters and kept on file, he replied. Oh, okay. Well, it's a long shot, but thank you again, you replied with a smile as you stood up to leave. You still had plenty more questions for Rampage to answer. And we are halfway done. Stay tuned for chapter 6 coming tomorrow.